Mesechus Sotah Daf Mem Hey. The Mishnah Daf Mem Daled on Beis says Egla Arufos B'Lashon HaKodesh, and 3 or 5 people from the Bezin HaGolden Yerushalayim go out to count and to dan the halacha of the Egla Arufa. Reb Chaim and stencils and Rosh Hashanah brings from Moshe to ask, what's the understanding in this Mishnah that you need 3 or 5 from the Bezin HaGodol? The whole chashivas of Bezin HaGodol Yerushalayim is that you have a Bezdin that's machriya and paskin shailus with ayin aleph, and now that you're taking out 3 or 5, what chashivas and what status does it have? The fact that you have 3 or 5 coming from the Bezin HaGodol. So he says it's mavur in this Mishnah Yesod that halacha of Bezin HaGodol Yerushalayim is not only the Gabi the Chalais Din Bezdin, rather it's also a Chalais Din Monui and a Cheshivas Miyuchedes that each Yochid and Yochid that's a chelik of the Bezin HaGodol has, and therefore it was now my halacha and Egla Arufa that you need 3 or 5 people from the Bezin HaGodol to go out by Egla Arufa. Moving from the Gemara says, Yotzu hein v'lo shlucham umodudu. The Mincha Chareva asks, what's the understanding and that you need a miyat to be made a shliach of Bezdin for the medida and for the measurement of the Egla Arufa. He says it's mvur, and the more further that even if you see clear which one of the cities are the closest city, you have to be moided. So you see it's a mitzvah to be moided, and it's not just a way to figure out which city is closer. So he says if that's the case, then it should be considered like a mitzvah shebegufoi, and it's a mitzvah shebegufoi doesn't pass shlichus. Reb Chaim Kanievsky in the Sefer Nachal Eson and Hilchas Egla Arufa, the first sefer that Reb Chaim Kanievsky wrote, he says two tirutzim to answer his kashi. He says, first of all, according to the shita the Ktseis HaChoshen that we mentioned this year in Shabbos Daf Kuf Lamed Gimel, that says that it doesn't pass shlichus by a mitzvah shebegufo like hanachas tefillin and achilas matzah. The bir hadvorim is, why is it that specifically on a mitzvah shebegufo it doesn't pass shlichus? Why is it different than other mitzvahs and other chalesim that it passes shlichus? And the Ktseis says that b'yesodi passes to make a shliach on the hanachas tefillin and achilas matzah, but the shliach who put the tefillin onto his guf and not the meshaleach's guf. And although it's as if the meshaleach put on tefillin, he put the tefillin on to the shliach's body and not on the guf of the meshaleach. And the halacha is that hanachas tefillin has to be on the guf of the meshaleach. And Chaim Kanievsky says, according to this, the Mincha Charev is kasha, because even if the mitzvah medida is a mitzvah shebegufo, there's no halacha that has to be done specifically with the hands of Bezdin. The halacha is Bezdin has to do a medida, so they did the medida with shlichus, even if they didn't do it with the hands. And Chaim Kanievsky says another teretz, and he says he's mechaven the Merachas Ruah and Rabbi Chanan that we mentioned this year in Shabbos Daf Kuf Lamed Gimel and Yevomis Daf Kuf Aleph, that the Merachas Ruah is miyaseh the tremendous yisoy in shlichus. He says that a passes shlichus is specifically on a mitzvah, that the mitzvah is the teitzah, the accomplishment, and when the mitzvah is the actual asiyah and the actual doing, on that it doesn't pass shlichus. And understanding in mitzvah shebegufo it doesn't pass shlichus is because the mitzvah is the actual ma'isa. And Chaim says that according to this you could say that by medida the mitzvah is not the ma'isa of medida, rather the mitzvah is to measure and to have the measurement. And even though it's mavur, that even when it's clear and nimtza ba'alil you have to be moided, is because there's a mitzvah to be moided and to make the calculations with a Maisa Medida, but the Yesod of the mitzvah is not the actual Maisa, and therefore it's not considered a mitzvah shebegufay. The Rebbe could answer with two of the Mahalchim that we mentioned the Shurim, in the Shabbos Daf Kuf Lamed Gimel, and we wrote B'siyat Shmai in Sefer Oil Pinchas in Choyris, that according to Baruch Ber, the brings from Chaim that says that the Yesod in that mitzvah shebegufay doesn't pass shlichus, is because the mitzvah is the actual mitzias and not the asiyah b'chlal. Achilas matzah is the fact that there's matzah in your guf, similar to the halacha of chalav and v'arayis that doesn't pass shlichus, is because there's no asiyah, and it's the chefts of that there's ano of The Chalom Varayis is the Isser, and since it's not an Asiyah, it doesn't pass Shlichus. So we hear it's also hated because the Medida is at least a Maisa, and therefore would pass Shlichus without the Miyat of the Pasuk. Another teretz you could say, according to what we explained, Pinchas, the Pshat in the Teisus Rid, that Teisus Rid holds, that doesn't pass Shlichus by Achilas Matzah, and we explained that it's Tzorchian because the Shach and the Ksei say that according to Teisus Rid, who adin, by Milan Pidyon Ben, it wouldn't pass Shlichus. And we explained with Yat Shmai that the beer in the Teisus Rid is that Shlichus only passes when it lives in the Asiyah of the Shlichus, that this is the Asiyah of the Meshaleach. However, when you eat matzah for the Meshaleach, there's nothing chal in the Achila of the Shliach, that this is the Achila of the Meshaleach. So since it doesn't lig in the Maisa, this is the Asiyah of the Meshaleach, therefore it doesn't pass Shlichus. By Kedushin, the Kedushin is for the Meshaleach. By Gerushin, the Gerushin is for Meshaleach. However, if it doesn't lig in the Maisa, this is the Maisa of the Meshaleach, doesn't pass Shlichus. Over here also, since the Medida has to be for Bezdin, and that's the din of the Medida, it would pass Shlichus v'ayin shamoit. Moving for the Gemara says that even if it's Nimtza Ba'alil and you see clear which city is close, you still have to be moided, like we mentioned before. And Basheva asks on that's Mavu in the Reim and the Mizrachi al Torah, that the Mizrachi writes that when it's clear which city is close to, there's no mitzvah of Medida, and Beersheva asks, that's very hard to understand the Mizrachi. It's not like the Gemara by Oz and the Mishnah Melech writes that the answer to the Mizrachi is that there's two different mitzvahs of Medida. There's a mitzvah of Medida when it's not near Balil, you have to be moided for all the cities and figure out which one of the cities are the closest city to the Cholol. However, when it's near Balil, you have to count specifically to the closest city, and you don't have to count to all the cities. Ayin Chedushim Shmuel and Babasa declares what's the Geda of this Medida according to the Mishnah Melech, even though it's clear that this is the closest city, is the pshat that although you know this is the closest city, you have to have the cheshbon of the closest city through a ma'aseh medido, or the pshat is the mitzvah ba'almo, they have to do a ma'aseh medidas. And Reb Shmuel declares what's the halacha according to the Rambam, that the Rambam says a tremendous chiddush that if there's an ear that's a roiv, and some more in the Sugi and Babasad of Chav Gimel, that if there's two cities, one's Korev and one is a Roiv, the Roiv is a stronger beer than the Korev, and you could assume that the Ritzeach came from the ear that's a Roiv. And the Rambam says when there's a Roiv against the Korev, the Rochik, that's a Roiv, brings the Egla Rufa. And the Minchas Chinuch is Matmiya on this Rambam, and he says like that in Teisus Rid, and the chinuch as well, that the whole halacha is that the roiv makes it that you can't bring a egla rufa from the korev, but it's not the pshat that there's a mitzvah to bring the egla rufa from a further city, but the Rambam's mavur that you have to bring this egla rufa even from a further city if it's the roiv. And if Shmuel declares, could it be that there's a mitzvah medida to the further city according to the Rambam, even though it's clear that the bringing of the Egla Roof has nothing to do with the medida b'chlal? All the Yisod the medida is that the counting and showing which one's closer has to be through medida, even though you see it clearly v'ayin shamoit. Moving further on, the Rambam in Perek Tes Halacha Beis in Hilchos Ritzeach says that you're moided to the cities, and after you're moided, you bury the body. And Achronim asked that Tzorchi and Godel this Rambam, because it's mavur clearly in the Sefta and Yushalmi that first you bury the body and you mark exactly where the body was found, and afterwards you measure to the cities. And Tzorchi and Godel, what's the understanding of the Rambam? How could the Rambam paskin not like the Tosefta and the Yushalmi? The Biskrov and Sefer says the answer to the Rambam is that the Rambam had a raya from the Gemara and Memheim and Beis that the Bavli argues on the Yushalmi, and the Bavli holds they have to count from the body, and the Medida has to be before the body was buried. And the Beskrov says that the Rambam saw this Yisoid from the Gemara over here, that Mempeim and Beis, that the Mishnah says a Machloikis, when the body was found in one place and the head was found in a different place. Says Machloikis Rebbe Belez, if you bring the body to the head or the head to the body, and the Gemara asks, what's nafkamina? And the Gemara says, does it mean the Gabi Medida? Which one you have to count from? That L'tzorich Medida, you have to bring the head to the body, or the body to the head. And the Beskrov asks, what's the understanding of this Gemara? What's the Haba meaning? You should bring the Tzurich Medida, the body, to the head, or vice versa. Either the Chayvas Medida is from the Mokum that the head was found, or if the body was found. But what's the side of this halacha that you should bring the body to the head, or the head to the body? So the Beskrov said, the Rambam understood from this Gemara that the Gemara argues on the Yerushalmi and holds that the Chayvas Medida is specifically from the goof that was found murdered, and it has to be from the goof. So therefore, the Marzahavamin, you have to move it from the goof with the head. And the question is, which one's brought to which? But it's not like the Yerushalmi that just the Mokum wheel was Nirtzach, and therefore it's also hated that the Rambam had a raya from the Gemara over here that the Bavli does not hold like the Yerushalmi, the Ayin Sham.